honorable members of parliament, state officials, Okoa Uchumi campaign coalition members, all esteemed sovereign Kenyans who must pay the debt, good morning once again. I take this opportunity to welcome all of us to today's conference, dubbed Remobilizing Citizens and Public Institutions to Public Debt Accountability and Responsiveness for Economic Recovery. This country has had very many conversations. There are times we've had national dialogues on violence, peace, democracy, constitutional review, corruption, name it. Our children, education, name it. I'm sure a number of us, when we were growing up, it never occurred to us that we would need to have a conversation on our public debt. But currently, public debt is at the heart of democracy. It is now at the center of our liberties as a people, our basic needs, service delivery, our wealth, and lately, even children understand that they do not have textbooks in school because we have a debt. Therefore, this conversation holds immense significance, and that is why we are convened here today to discuss our economic well-being and what we must do to get back. Okoa Uchumi began this conversation many years ago, over 5-6 years ago, in boardrooms, in some town halls, and it was largely people analyzing. James Mragori is here. I think he was one of the people who presented the first analysis some 6 years ago and informed us that, look, this is a ticking clock. Nobody seems to be listening. And unless we do something, to be honest, 2017, we all laughed like, can you crunch other numbers? The debt doesn't look that bad. But here we are. The last elections, nobody could run away from where our public debt. When we birthed for ourselves a devolved system of government, we celebrated the new way of using power and resources, and caution was issued that we must work to grow our national values and principles under the system and ensure that we do not devolve vices that plagued our national governance system. One of those was corruption. But currently, as we discussed, and I'm glad Governor Nderito is here, county governments are plagued with public debt in the same way, the national debt. That's my welcome cue for you, Governor, not to put you on the spot. And so the very problems that we were worried about have gone all the way to the county government. While reading, I realized this problem was there in America 300 years ago. And we all remember Thomas Jefferson, who cautioned his people then that to preserve independence, we must not let anybody in power to load us with perpetual debt. We must make choices between economy and liberty, profusion and servitude. If we run into such debt, that we must be taxed in our meat and our drink, in our necessaries and in our comforts, in our labors and our amusement, for our callings and our creeds. As the then people of England were, our people like them must be ready to work, I think for Kenya, not 16 hours, 18 hours, and give 17 hours to government to pay the debt, and we will not survive on the 1 hour of income that we make. We will then move from discussing balanced diet to filling our stomachs with the available starch just to survive. That is where we are, and we therefore must call anybody who mismanages our debt and our public resource to account so that we can avoid to be fellow sufferers moving forward. I must say we are very, very concerned in many ways, and that is why first we approached the institution of Parliament to discuss the public debt stock. Whereas, as the members of Okoa Uchumi, we've always worried about what is our true debt stock. The recent statements by the Auditor General shook us even more, because if the Office of the Auditor General cannot ascertain what our debt level is, you can imagine what it will take for us sovereign citizens to be able to do the same. So based on this reality, and Honorable Shurie and Honorable Makali will bear me witness, we have decided to remind Parliament very subtly, for a start, that when we drafted the Constitution for ourselves as Kenyans, for some reason, somebody knew, because of what happened with Anglo leasing, we planned for debt, we steal it, that we needed to safeguard future public debt. Parliament was therefore given mandate in a very, very special way to oversee everything about debt planning, debt acquisition, debt utility, debt servicing, debt sustainability. We are happy today that Parliament, this particular Parliament, has a Public Debt and Privatization Committee who are now steering this conversation, and I know they have already started making the requests of Treasury, and I am looking forward to hearing and sharing in their visions, because Parliament is the one institution that ought to lead us in safeguarding national interest. In this conference, we hope that everybody here will have a shared understanding of our public debt. The status are shared by different people from different standpoints, that we will discuss the options we have for servicing our debt and what we must do when it comes to our budgetary and fiscal processes to be able to move away from the hole that we currently are in. We hope that from this particular process, our parliamentarians will live here with greater courage to take up the task that is ahead of us of ensuring that this painful journey bears the needed fruits. As we discussed this, I recall in my village where I was raised, the current situation we are in is like a big family, a very, very big family with two parents. One of them decides to take a mortgage on the ancestral land. The other one does not know. And they have a big family of, say, 12 children. I am one of the siblings. So my mother comes and tells me, Diana, your ancestral land is about to be auctioned. What happens? I'm first in shock, shame. Then I ask why. Your father, I use father because our leadership is largely male-dominated. We've not had a CS Treasury who has been male, have we? Or female, sorry, have we? No. A speaker who is female? No. A president? No, there are a few governors. So allow me to use my mother. So my mother tells me that my father took a loan and used it to service some fund. He got a car that was taken by some people who had fun, but most importantly, that the money was not used for any business, and now he's old, fragile, and can no longer service the debt. I have a brother and a sister buried on that land. All our memories are on that land. What happens? We all must come together, stop everything that we are doing, and rescue our ancestral land. So the shame is over, the anger is there, but now we must all go look for this bank and start repaying the debt. As we do that, my irresponsible father remains a father, but the management of that land must change, right? Because we all had to come and rescue it. Most probably, a few of my siblings must be registered on this land. We will now be vigilant. We cannot just allow them to be parents and keep mortgaging us. To be honest, that is where we are. And as Okoa Uchumi, when government and parliament announced the revenue-raising measures that they were about to take, we were very vehemently opposed. Why? Because we understand that we must pay debt. But until our public expenditure is prudent, we will raise more revenue, but we will not seal the debt. I think, as Okoa Uchumi, the message that I have been given is, we are ready to pay the debt. But as we pay the debt, can we all come to this family meeting and agree on how we will manage this particular property moving forward and ensure that we are not the laughingstock of our neighbors because auctioneers are at our door. So we hope that once the shock, the anger of our dear ancestral land that carries our pride goes away, this conference will herald a national process of innovation, of confidence and respect building necessary to ensure that Kenyans' public debt management will prioritize a model that ensures that more people do not sink into poverty, essential services are available, and never again do we find ourselves where we are. I wish to thank all the Okoa Uchumi Coalition members for the nudge to have this conference and for Parliament agreeing to have this initial consultation even as they mull over their own process and the prospects of holding a bigger national conference to address this particular matter. In particular, I want to thank our partners, Afrodad, Oxfam, and NDI for helping us put together this inaugural conference. I call us to the words of our national anthem, that our homeland of Kenya, heritage and splendor, we may all stand to defend it from the effects and ravages of poorly acquired and managed public resources, including public debt. With that particular background, I want to welcome all of us to this conference, and I look forward to the sovereigns and our elected representatives sharing their ideas. Parliament is here at hand to receive the communique that we develop so that we start rolling out what we must do to rescue our homeland.